live from the Little Bro Broadcasting Network. Bye, Sparty. Bye, Sparty. You want to know what the saddest thing about this game was? And it wasn't that I sat or stood in the cold for about 5 hours. The time that I walked through Gate 1. It's the time we left the game after a 24-17 victory in Ann Arbor against Sparty. The saddest thing was after the game, Nate Carter said, we were the best team. We were for sure the better team. We should have won the game. You know what, Nate Carter? You're right. MSU was the better team. 100%. The difference is when you don't score more points than your opponent, you lose the game, and then that means it doesn't matter if you were the better team because you lost. Sometimes in sports, the best teams don't win. I.e., NFC Championship game last year, Lions, San Francisco, first half, body bagged them. Second half, got body bagged, lost. You don't get to say we were the better team when your first drive takes up 8.5 minutes of game clock and then your kicker shanks it from the 20-something yard field goal. You don't get to say that. I mean, you can. You might be right, but you look like a dodo brain. You look like a dummy. You look like Lil Bro. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about two sides of the ball. And it's not the two sides of the ball I thought I was going to talk about. I thought this was a matchup of MSU's offense versus Michigan's defense. I was wrong. It was actually U of M's offense against MSU's defense. And here's where MSU lost the game. You're up 7-0. You should be up 14-0 if we're being honest. You busted coverage. First of all, you let Michigan get down the field at the end of the first half and score a touchdown. Michigan fumbles over their own feet. The holder, I guess, doesn't have opposable thumbs. Puts the ball on the deck. 7-6 instead of 7-7. I guess we need a new special teams head coach with our NIL money on top of needing a punter and another quarterback. And, I don't know, wide receivers and offensive linemen and corners and safeties. So you're up 7-6. And you decide, you get the ball, the kickoff 25, with like 20-some seconds left. You decide, with 2 timeouts, by the way, yeah, let's try and get in the field goal range. Okay, 15-yard run off the rip. 40-yard line. There was 21 seconds when Charles snapped the ball. You don't call a timeout. I know the clock stops for after you get a first down, to reset the chains in college. Call a timeout. Because the one thing that you can't have Aiden Chiles standing in the pocket for 5 or 6 seconds, looking around, looking for someone to throw the ball to. What you do, you call a timeout and you say, listen, kid, we're running this play. If you don't see anything immediately, we cannot run 5-6 seconds off the clock. You can't scramble out the pocket. You get the ball, you grip it, you rip it. 4 seconds, max 5, if you're running a deep out route. And you should be running an out route. Because in theory, you would have 1 timeout left, and that's the timeout you need to call in order to get your field goal unit out. Okay? Don't take a page out of Dan Campbell's I know how to coach manual for head coaching. Okay, don't run the field goal unit out when you need to clock it. You need to spike it. Instead, he says, "Oh no, Charles, you're okay." The most inexperienced quarterback outside of Dominic Raiola maybe in the Big Ten, you're okay. You know what to do. What does he do? 5 to 6 seconds off the clock. On top of that, I'm going to get strip sacked from behind because I have absolutely zero spatial awareness as the quarterback of a Big Ten Power 4 conference team playing in the biggest game of my life. Zero. Strip sack. And then MSU's defense says, oh, Dono out the backfield. Not going to cover him. Field goal range. 9-6. Michigan wins the toss, defers. They get the ball to start the second half. So you mean to tell me Michigan gets the ball, I think there was like maybe 4 or 5 minutes left in the second half when Michigan got the ball. They go down the field. It was a pretty long drive. Again, busted coverages all over the place. MSU not covering their wide receivers well enough. One of them being Colston Loveland, who killed Michigan MSU all night. I think they hit Samaj Morgan on a third down. I think that was the drive, if I'm remembering correctly. I mean, Michigan has no wide receivers. They had Ronnie Bell's little brother, and he's not even that good. They have Colston Loveland, and who else? That's it. Donovan Edwards out the backfield, maybe. I mean, the play calling was horrible all night. Kirk Campbell needs to be sent to Pyongyang, along with the entire secondary, along with Wink Martindale, along with the entire quarterback room, along with Donovan Edwards, and anybody who thinks, everything is awesome. It's not. This team is horrible. What you saw was one of the worst U of M MSU games since maybe 2020. And 2020 was the worst game I've ever seen in my life. The worst rivalry game in my lifetime that I've seen that I can remember. And I can't remember 95 when they lost to Nick Saban. I barely remember 97. I kind of remember 97. I don't remember what happened in 01 or 02. I kind of remember 2010, 2011 with Tate Forsythe. There was a ratty game in there. Nick Sheridan, obviously, that was 08. I mean, some ratty games. This was one of the rattiest games I've ever seen because both teams did, from a game plan perspective, from a coaching perspective, from a player's perspective, from just a fundamentals, techniques perspective, were just like, yeah, whatever. That's what it felt like, sitting in the stands watching this game. I felt like it was the team trying to, one of these, like the competition was to try and lose the game, or to try to win the game in the most comical fashion. We were running flea flickers, we're doing fake reverses, we're lining up Alex Orji at wide receiver. Both of these teams, just like trick plays, like you don't know how to run a normal play, you have to revert to tomfoolery. Are you serious? That's where the state of these two programs is. But as I was saying, Michigan had 3 possessions where they ran the touchdown drive to cut the lead to 7-6, and then MSU runs 2 plays, gives the ball back, gives up free 3 points. So now it's 9-6, and then Michigan gets the ball back. I mean, they got 3 possessions to MSU's 2 plays. That was the game. And it was Michigan versus MSU's defense, where for some reason, Michigan had like 30, 40 yards of total offense up until that first touchdown drive. And then MSU's just like, oh, we don't know how to defend Colston Loveland. Oh. MSU lost this game. I'll be the first to admit it. MSU lost the game. Michigan took advantage of MSU. And that's what you do to little bro. You take advantage of him. You're playing video games. He thinks he's playing. Mom says, hey, play with your little bro. Okay. You give him a controller without him looking. You unplug it. And he thinks he's playing. That's what that was. That's what this game was. MSU's first drive. Okay, now that I talked about Michigan and all their players, I need to get sent to a Pyongyang camp or whatever. Here's MSU. Here's my analysis of MSU. They're gutter trash, and it's not just the players. They have some really nice skilled players. Their offensive line is terrible, but they have the Nate Carter kid. I like both their running backs. I would take their running backs over ours. I like Mullings. Did he even play? I don't know. Was he on injured reserve? I don't know. I couldn't tell. Because every time he got the ball, 1 yard gain, 1 yard loss, 2 yard gain, 1 yard loss. Michigan couldn't do anything up the middle. Everything that Michigan got on the ground was C gap, tackle, off tackle. I mean, it maybe a cutback up the middle, but they just couldn't. They could not. Michigan could not move defensive line. The MSU's defensive line up the middle. Couldn't do it all night, and that's concerning from an offensive line standpoint. MSU had the better skill players. MSU has the better quarterback. MSU has the better coach. They have the better offensive coordinator, and yet MSU did nothing. After that first drive where Kim shanked the field goal, they did nothing the same. Nothing the same. I have to actually look at the stats. I haven't done it because it just makes me want to vomit. But I would be willing to wager a bet that Aiden Childs ran the ball more on the first drive that took like 8 minutes off the board. And by the way, MSU killed Michigan in TOP because Michigan couldn't move the ball in the first half. It was that Michigan State had the ball 20 minutes in the first half, and Michigan had the ball for 10 minutes, and they were down 9-7. Doesn't sound like Michigan deserved to be in the lead, but they were. Because, again, you just take advantage of your little bro because they don't know any better. They don't know you unplug their controller. They don't know. They don't know you took the batteries out if you got a wireless one. They don't know. They're just like, oh, look at me. I'm playing the game with my big bro. No, you weren't. MSU went away from everything that worked for them, both last week and all season long. They went away from it. They took the ball out of Aiden Childs' hands. 100%. Aiden Childs should have ran the ball 10, 15 times by himself. Michigan could not stop MSU on the ground. How many times did I have to see this freaking guy, either Nate Carter or Lynch Adams, on 3rd and long, get 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 yards? How many times? How many times do I have to see that? And then the Michigan defense tackling. Good grief. Number 10 for Michigan. You're almost as bad as Jamon Green. Jamon Green is the single worst cornerback to ever play at Michigan. Ever. And you're right there. Pyongyang. Every single person in the secondary, Pyongyang. Wink Martindale, your 0 blitzes suck. Pathetic. Why are you not spying Aiden Childs? Not one time did you spy Aiden Childs in this game that I saw. Not once. Pathetic. And Michigan State didn't take advantage of it. You know why? Because they thought their controller was still plugged in. That's why. Michigan got so lucky that MSU, for the entirety of the third quarter and for half the second quarter, was just sleepwalking like this, just completely zero situational awareness of where they were, what was on the line, what they were doing, what Michigan was trying to do. They were pathetic. They got their first 2 drives were awesome. Like 150, 160 yards of total offense their first 2 drives. And then after that, nothing. At one point, Michigan and MSU had the same number of yards in the third quarter. They each had 230 something. I mean, if it wasn't exactly the same, it was really close. And yet, MSU was down 24-10. You can say, oh, we were the best team. We were the better team out there. Oh. Not the best team doesn't always win. Not always. Not in sports. That's not what sports are about. Unfortunately, that's what life is. And let's hope, Nate Carter, that you learn a valuable life lesson. Okay? Check your controller. Make sure it's plugged in. Go Blue.